3, 2, 1.
Boom shakalaka, mother huggers.
And welcome to the show. This is the Gents. My name is Jared.
And my name is Dane.
And we're going to be talking about Jacob Zuma's resignation.
Yeah.
Dane, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thanks, Jared. Shall we get the weather out of the way? Yes, let's do that.
Please.
It's been very warm on this side. No wind whatsoever. As I said, super hot. And I've just been chilling. It's been a really chill day my side. And you, how you doing there?
I'm well, man. This side, the weather's been snowing the whole day. Mm-hmm. It's cold. But at the same time, one can appreciate the snow. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're all well. We're healthy. I have been looking forward to doing this podcast with you. I'm glad to have the opportunity to get our opinions out there. Let me slap a big fat disclaimer on this motherfucker before we get started. This is by no means a political opinion that's been checked by facts. We're just giving our opinion out there, although I'd like to keep it fact-based because we're talking about Jay-Z, Jacob Zuma, aka Jay-Z, aka Msholozi, aka 100% Zuma Zulu boy,
aka 783, yo.
783. Let's keep it real. And I just want to, I try a lot of alleged things happening with Jay-Z, and I just looked at the facts. I found a few, not many, but the facts are there. We're going to be talking about that tonight, but by all means, we're going to get political. It's a political discussion. Dane, we might butt heads, but that's cool. That's cool. It's an open discussion. I'd like to keep it as open as possible. And for all you guys out there, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Likewise from my side. I have no idea what I'm saying right now. So, Thursday night, Jacob Zuma resigned after the political party, the ANC, the ruling party of South Africa, chose to recall him. There was a lot of pressure from civil society. There's and just the people in general of the country. Everyone's just felt that Zuma has been a pretty shit president. I'd say the majority of people. And there's been corruption scandals and all this state capture involved. The Guptas, if you haven't heard of that, we'll touch on it in a bit. But yeah, it's it feels pretty positive to be rid of this cold sore of a president.
It's a nice way of describing as a cold sore. Yeah, he is kind of like that. He's just a thing that was there that kind of pissed off a lot of people, but they couldn't get rid of him, And look here, let's just say this: it's fair to say that he failed as a civil servant. We'll get into that. He failed as his role as a president, but at the same time, I think Jacob Zuma has been so important for South Africa because if we're going to be talking about Jacob Zuma, we have to talk about Cyril Ramaphosa. The State of the Nation speech was last night. I watched it online. I have opinions on it, but Jacob Zuma, for me, was what had to happen for the good shit to start. We had to go through 10 years of stagnation, 10 years of corruption, 10 years of alleged rapes, 10 years of Guptastan, and that's over now. And people, I have the impression just from what I saw at the State of the Nation that people are they're just glad it's over, They're glad the thorn that was stuck in their side is finally gone.
Yeah.
Put him out to pasture. He's fair. Jacob, do your thing. You have your life to live. But like Cyril Ramaphosa said last night, thank you, Jacob Zuma, for taking the time and respecting the democratic process and leaving, the situation. handing over the reins, you know, he could have fought it. You know, he could have fought it to the end. And there are a lot of people that thought he would do that, but I'm glad he didn't. Hey, so well done, Jacob. Well done on that one, Jay-Z.
It seemed he was. It seemed he was like a little bit sticky about it at first. It didn't seem like he wanted to let go of the power that he had as president. Yeah, like he has stepped down, he has resigned, but there was a bit of like he was kind of saying, I think this is roughly quoting, "What did I do? You know, what did I do wrong?" That's what came out of his mouth a lot of the time when in that last week or two.
Me? Question mark? Me?
Yeah, there's tons and tons of like evidence and whatnot that is being pulled out of the woodwork now. Like linking Jay-Z to the Guptas and to corrupt deals and whatnot. And even if nothing can stick, like he has been an implicit part of it, of the whole state capture process. Like he could have done something to prevent it. He could have done something to prevent corrupt officials going balls to the wall and stealing state funds and shit like that, and he didn't. And yeah, good riddance, I say. Good riddance. And I hope he serves some kind of justice for this. Like, I know I don't know if I'm assuming here correctly, but you kind of like of the idea that like Jay-Z should just be, you know, enjoy the rest of his life. Am I right?
Look here, what is the point of revenge? You know, do we want to see somebody suffer now? Do we want them to suffer because of their alleged wrongdoings? What has happened. Let's move on. Let's put Jacob Zuma behind us. Let him go to his Nkandla state. Let him live there in peace, as long as he is not leeching off of the state. Let the legal justice system take its course. He has several lawsuits which have been filed against him, ranging from corruption to everything else. I'm not sure. I don't even. There's loads of things that have been thrown at him.
Mm-hmm.
Let that take process. He will have to sort that out, and that's it. You know, that he is old news. He's out to pasture now. Let's move on. We have a new beginning now with Cyril Ramaphosa and Dane. You know, I don't live in the country. I haven't lived in the country for at least 8 years, but I have very strong emotions towards the country where I was born, South Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do too. I'm sure most South Africans are very patriotic, and we want to see that flag being flown. You know, that Nelson Mandela flag. People look at us. They respect us because we were very bad at one point. We had apartheid, we had social inequality and social injustice on a scale that maybe you could compare to, I'm just going to throw out a word out there, like, actually I won't even mention it, but it was just bad, you know.
Okay.
Because I don't want to talk about that. It's a different thing. You know, I was going to say the Holocaust, but let me just retract that and say that's a whole different thing. I'm not going to compare apartheid to the Holocaust.
Well, mass oppression, you could say.
Mass segregation, mass oppression, based on things that are based, you know, just prejudice.
Yeah.
And then we had something beautiful that happened. We had 1994 elections. Nelson Mandela, he came out of prison. He took over the presidency of the country in a peaceful manner. People didn't expect that, and the Rainbow Nation, you know what I'm saying, represent. So people look at us. If it can, you know, there's lots of nations out there that can learn from our past and our future. And you know, we've disappointed over the last 10 years, I would say. You know, bear in mind also the Thabo Mbeki era wasn't the greatest, but I'll put a fiat on this at the end, but there are positive movements, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to move together in a positive way, and trying to alleviate the quality of the apartheid era. And judging from Cyril Ramaphosa's speech last night, I feel good about it. And I just wanted to say, it's like there's a passion involved here. We want to see our country do well, not only for fellow South Africans, but for the world. So let's learn from our past and try and put things right.
Yeah, for sure. I just to go back to I wouldn't say it's a revenge thing, and I know you did say let justice take its course and stuff, but I think that is like a critical part of this, because in order to set an example, to show other leaders and people who are maybe pursuing leadership roles in the country and who could have a corrupt bone in their body, like, we need to set an example here. We need to say, like, this is what happens when you do shit like this. That is what I think is the most crucial part of Jacob Zuma hopefully serving time in jail. I'll put that out there. Like, that would be, I think that would be great. That would be a great example that politicians can be like, ooh, this is what happens. Okay, let's do this right.
No, absolutely. This could happen. The chance that Jacob Zuma ends in jail is definitely a realistic possibility. The man has made an art form of avoiding these kind of things.
Yeah.
He's been a real, the artful dodger, if I may. He's moved with between and over certain obstacles that has been laid in his path.
Yeah.
But it was always a question of when. So he's out of the picture. We're hoping that the Constitution of South Africa takes its rightful course. Look here, let me say this. Guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. I believe in that.
Yeah.
So amongst the charges that has been laid against Jacob Zuma, like I said in the beginning, allegations. Now, facts that I've taken out of Wikipedia is that the guy is born in KwaZulu-Natal, and he has an estimated amount of children, which they figure is around 21.
Yeah.
He's a polygamist. So they don't even know how many children he has. But all that other corruptions, yes. Fact is that his previous financial manager, Shabir Sheikh, has been found guilty of corruption and negligence regarding due course with regards to finances and tenders and stuff like that, and paybacks, kickbacks. So where there's smoke, there's fire, and let Jacob serve. If he does have to serve prison time, let him serve it with respect. I wish him the best, but my focus is on Cyril Ramaphosa and what he plans to do right now.
Okay.
So I hear you, Dane. I'll hear you loud and clear with regards to consequences for your actions. So if you're going to be a cunt, then you must face the consequences. So I agree with you, but I can't control whether Jacob Zuma, the shifty motherfucker that he is going to avoid these consequences, or he's going to go through a legal loop somehow. So whatever, I'm not basing my happiness on that.
Yeah, for sure.
So let him do his thing, But at the end of the day, it's fair to say that he failed, although he had a lot of support always, you know. He always had some kind of like grass level support. I think he was that classic kind of like rags to riches story, you know. He's a basically a country boy who made it good and became the president of the country, president of South Africa.
Yeah. His support base is dwindling now. There's a lot of corrupt officials being brought to book. The Guptas that he was involved with, these guys are, I don't know if it's all the brothers or like one or two of them or something, but they're, what's the word? They're actually fugitives now, as well as his son. There's certain company CEOs in the country. I can't remember the one woman. She said she's going to match this reward that some like national prosecutors put down for information leading to the capture of these guys. I think it was like 500,000 was put down, and she said she'll match that. So that's R1 million being put down now for information leading to the arrest of these guys that are now fugitives in the country. Yeah, and yeah, the one is Duduzane Zuma, which is Jacob Zuma's son, and yeah, that's going to be interesting, like if and when he gets caught, and like how that could implicate Jacob in whatever ways it can. That'll be an interesting turn of events, I think. But on to Cyril Ramaphosa. Interesting dude, hey? One of the richest politicians in Africa, I believe. I know I believe he is the richest politician in South Africa, and he's done this seemingly legitimately, and he's a bit of a mover and shaker in the business world. Yeah, and there was that whole Marikana business that he was involved in. I think he was sitting on the Lonmin board or something like that at the time, the Lonmin Mines board. And there's allegations that he had something to do with the Marikana massacre, just whether it was, he said, like, take care of it, and it was taken care of, but it ended up being violently, or I'm not totally sure what his actual part to play in that was, but that is a bit of a cloud that's hanging over his head. Yeah, but people are very, I guess, like, people feel like it's a bit of a rebirth again in leadership, with him coming in and with his promises of like what he's going to do for the country, what he's going to do for the economy. So hopefully the negatives aren't too negative, and hopefully the focus can be on, as you said, building and like making right what should be made right now, following Jacob Zuma's dirty presidency.
Definitely, there needs to be. Drain the swamp, Cyril. Drain the fucking swamp. You know, it's a quagmire out there. We've been stuck in 10 years of corruption, state capture, Guptastan. We're over it. We want what's best for South Africans, and I say wait and see. Yes, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Cyril Ramaphosa is not the fucking messiah.
Yeah.
He's not going to turn shit into diamonds, you know. He's just another man. But from what we've experienced, we're going from Jay-Z to Cyril Ramaphosa. It's like a breath of fresh air. So people are understandably quite positive about the future, because Jay-Z was such a disappointment, and we have to wait and see. But let me say this, for example. This is something that's happened recently. It happened last night. Yeah, it's like 3:30 in the morning. Just to give you guys a kind of a idea of South African life, you know. This is just a story from our circle of friends. So I'll read the message that was sent out to social media, and I'll keep the names obscure. This is what was posted, right, on Facebook. this is from an area that's close to where myself and Dane live, and were brought up back in in Cape Town. So all beware, robbers in the area. X and Y were robbed early this morning, tied them all up in the main bedroom, even the 93-year-old granny was woken up and put in the room, smacked Y around to show dominance, stole TVs, cells, all the jewelry they were wearing, microwave, handbags, and drove away in Y's bucky. Main thing, no one was hurt. This is a criminal act. This is what happened. And crime is a big issue in South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa did mention it last night. It wasn't on his, let's say, one of his, he didn't mention it. It wasn't the first five things that he's mentioned. It was more like in the middle of the speech kind of thing. And I was waiting for it because I know that crime is a big thing for people.
Yeah.
It definitely touches a nerve with a lot of people. So I was waiting for him to mention it. Eventually, he did mention it, and he did say something about communities and being safe and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping this kind of thing's going to be just kind of like taken care of, because crime is not fun, and we have to accept the fact that South Africa and South African society is still a very unequal society, and that there are things that are happening in South African society that is not perfect. Nobody said it was. Nobody said it was perfect, because I'm living in Germany, so I have a certain perspective. So people often talk to me about, so what's up with the crime in South Africa? But they don't understand the history. They don't put things in context. So that story I just read out to you, fair enough. I don't condone it, and I think it's bad, and I think it should be stopped. And there's no way of talking lightly about it, But if you're a European and you're making judgment calls about, South Africa, African country in general, you should first maybe stop and think about the history, which might give you a better understanding of why certain things happen in that part of the world. Dane, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for sure. It's inequality and whatnot creates there's people living in poverty, there's people that are desperate, and that kind of financial desperation and whatnot, it can lead to crime, and that it has led to crime, and there's a lot of that going on in South Africa. I think it's just going to be one of those things that is kind of there to stay. Hopefully it goes away or reduces somewhat or something. But I don't know. It's just one of the. It's a weird thing. It's almost like you have to accept it living in South Africa that there is crime, and just be vigilant and do what you can. Keep your eyes open. Stay aware. Stay alert. Whatever, Buy a gate, etc. Yeah. What can I say?
Yeah, it's kind of it's because I over here, people don't really have to buy a gate, because it's just a different society. But then again, every it's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
So there are certain problems here that a South African person would think, how? First of all, how the fuck could that be a problem? Why is that an issue? Whereas here, it's like people lose their shit about it. Whereas there are issues in South Africa where people here, they don't understand it because they don't know their history. So I don't think history is a reason or a excuse for certain things, but it does give one a certain understanding of why it is the way it is, and I just hope that like it gets better with the crime, and at the same time there's a lot of positive things that are kind of like happening, you know. So one has to keep it in perspective, and crime happens everywhere, no matter where you are. Maybe let's talk about it. Let's talk about the latest gun mass shooting that happened in America. I've, you know, been talking about it with certain friends that I know, and you know, people are kind of wondering why, you know, like what the hell's going on in America with the mass shootings. I know gun crime is a big issue everywhere. I'm of the opinion that these particular shootings are an American phenomenon, and that's just an example of, you know, different countries have different problems. So like, don't come and tell me that why can't you just be like Denmark or Norway, you know, like it doesn't work that way. Every country has its own set of challenges and unique kind of like demographics that you just can't slap a Scandinavian model on, you know, like as easy as it might be. So keep that in perspective, and like I think what we wanted to get out of this podcast was basically that Jacob Zuma is now gone. He was a bit of a cunt, and South Africa is now kind of like in a... Is it similar to like when South Africa won the World Cup in '95, or when Nelson came out, or, you know, it's a bit of, there's some positivity going on,
there's a bit
right?
of positivity, but it isn't like really in the forefront so much. I mean, I think it's like very kind of like tainted a little bit, just with like all the kind of other shit that's going on regarding like the Guptas and the corruption and everything. Like there's positive vibes coming there too. It's like all the action that's been taken now to like really eliminate all these corrupt officials and do something about this problem. Like that seems to be on the agenda now, and I think that that's like there isn't like 100% positive feeling about that yet, with like because things are just kind of just past their infancy regarding like bringing all these guys to book and whatnot, you know. So there's a lot yet to be seen there, and like what the outcome of certain court cases will be and whatnot. But the Ramaphosa situation, the fact that he's come in, like it seems like people are pretty positive about that, like I said already. And like I don't know, when I look and see like what Ramaphosa kind of was, like I believe he was quite a influence on like the peaceful transition from the apartheid government to the democratic model that we have now, and he was quite a big part of that. I believe he was like Mandela's right hand man, or one of, at the time, and he was actually I believe he was deputy president at the time, or at some point then. But then I also, I saw some YouTube videos saying like he was overlooked or something around that time, overlooked by Mandela. Like there was someone else that like Mandela felt was a better fit or something. And I don't think there was like bad blood or something like that, but I think he had his sights set on the presidency at some point, and I mean, now he's got there. But like, just also on that, like with him being the deputy to Zuma when Zuma was president, people are kind of a little bit like, what's the word? Like upset that he didn't do more to like, you know, like rein Zuma in a little bit and do more to to prevent like some of the state capture and whatnot that went on. But like, if I put myself in his shoes in that situation, like, like how much could he do, and would he be where he is now if he had spoken out at that point? Because Zuma was just like replacing people. Whoever disagreed with him basically got replaced, and he kind of cushioned his presidency in that way, like just putting his support around him. So maybe it was like a kind of self-preservation tactic, not to do anything when Zuma was being a dick. But people do seem pretty positive about this, and it might be he seems like he's putting on the kind of PR thing of he's a man of the people. He's been going for runs in public and having photos taken with people and whatnot, with like the public and whatnot. Might be a PR stunt or whatever, but like, I don't know, maybe he is like kind of cool in that way. I don't know. But it's an interesting time, man. Very interesting time. And like, obviously we just got to hope for the best now, like in this change.
Yeah, let's wait and see what Cyril can offer. He's at the moment talks the talk, but can he walk the walk? That's the question. I doff my hat to his speechwriter. He hit the nail on the head on several kind of like points where you would say that's exactly what people in South Africa wanted to hear. But this is the question: is he just telling us what we want to hear? But let's keep perspective. I mean, this has happened without bloodshed, which is awesome, always good. And Cyril is now the man of the moment. He seems sharp. He seems, he seems to know what he's talking about. He seems to have his finger on the pulse of what the average South African wants. We just gotta wait and see, and just trust the democratic process. I'm glad that Zuma stepped down too, but what's he gonna do now? Like, he was invited last night at the Speech of the Nation, but he decided not to come. Is he like upset now, or is he like did it take him by surprise that he had to face so much kind of like opposition, although people have been protesting against him for years? But I don't know, like, Jacob Zuma was just like, man, like, fair enough, like, give him his dues, like, if you're going to be moving and shaking in this kind of game, like South African politics, you got to have your game plan sorted out. You got to know what you're doing, so like, even like you said with Cyril, like, he bided his time, and if he had spoken out of turn while Zuma was in power, he more than likely would have been fired, and he would be just another millionaire South African businessman with no influence on the future. But he didn't, he kind of kept his mouth shut, and he bided his time, and that, for me, kind of gives an impression of somebody that has some foresight and some certain amount of emotional intelligence and stuff like that. So things are looking good as they are, but I understand that South Africans, they don't want to put too much positivity into it, because you're hearing the stories every day with the crime and blah blah blah, so keep it real, keep your emotions, your heart on your sleeve, kind of thing. So I get that, but hopefully Cyril's the guy. Everything is always in movement, so the South African story is not over yet. So we had Nelson, who was like, Nelson's, and Cyril mentioned Nelson so many times last night, it's like Nelson this, Nelson that. And fair enough, Nelson was the man. He always is. Everybody knows Nelson. Wherever you go, Nelson Mandela, people know the name.
Yeah, he's a global icon. You mentioned Ramaphosa being like a finger on the pulse, like hopefully he knows what is good for the average South African. There is a little bit of concern I've heard through the media or wherever I heard it, that with him being such a wealthy man, he might be a little bit disconnected from the average South African now. I think he has he has a lot of cash, like 450 million or something like that, and that might be a cause for concern for some. But I guess this is all it would be speculation as to whether or not he is or isn't connected to the masses. The proof would only be in the pudding, I guess.
I'm not really a fan of pudding, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like baked pudding, or
just like that vanilla
cold
powder pudding that you
Oh.
boil.
Like when they say this is pudding, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like a cup of pudding that you get.
It always disappoints, but
yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Bear in mind that these two guys, Jacob Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa, they came from literally nothing, man. These guys had nothing. They had no money. The family had no money because the legal system was designed to make sure that their families and they had no money, and they fought the apartheid system. And this is what I want to say about Jacob Zuma. Fair enough, give him,
Yes, I wanted to bring this up too.
Go ahead, criticize the guy, do whatever you want. He's a cunt, he's a fuck up, he's the reason why I'm unhappy, he's the reason why I don't have a job, he's the reason why my family's not doing well. Yeah, go ahead, say whatever you want to say, Bear in mind, this motherfucker was a poor motherfucking black boy under the apartheid regime, kept under the fucking boot of the white man. He raised himself, right? He rose up from the ashes like a phoenix. Maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic. Bear with me. These guys, they didn't have shit, man, and they fought for democracy. They fought for a constitution that is designed to make sure that the average man, the average person, regardless of the color of his skin or where he's from, is equal to the next man. So
it was an extremely righteous fight. That
they fought the hard fight. It was the struggle, and that's why you always hear of the comrades. We are white boys, Dane. We white boys born in 1983. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We don't have a fucking clue what these guys went through. That's what I'm saying to you guys out there. We don't fucking know. We born in 1983. We didn't have a fucking clue. By the time we were 11 years old, it was the Republic. It was the 94 election. So let's just keep perspective. Cyril Ramaphosa is a very rich man. I don't have anything against people making money, go ahead, you go and make your money, so the proof is in the pudding. We are still going to see what that pudding tastes like with Cyril, so he's made his money. He could fill all the cliches of some rich fucking businessman who's just trying to get in the game to get more rich. So he could do that, and we'll have to wait and see and do a podcast on that when that is in evidence, But and talking about Jay-Z, he also did that. He took as much as he could. Of course, that's the mindset. Why not? You come from nothing. Why should you step back and give the other person something? Fair enough. In Jay-Z's situation, he should have maybe had a little bit of forethought and kind of sympathized with the common man, which is still struggling as we speak in South Africa, and I think Cyril is also aware of the common man, and he's also aware of these guys. They are votes at the end of the day, so there's a lot of things to be aware of. If either he's talking a good game or he has something. He's got some actual, matter, actual stuff that he can offer the country. So we'll have to wait and see. But fair enough. Before these oaks they were living under apartheid. So I can't comment on it, because I don't know about it. But just imagine you go outside your door in the morning, you go to work, and some white guy comes up to you and says, "Hey, you. I'm just a normal white guy. I'm not even a policeman, but show me your identification document."
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, he's going to call the police, and you're going to have a very bad day. Or you might end up having a very bad decade. Who knows? It was fucking
certainly
not cool. So bear in mind, these oaks come from some serious backgrounds. And
Sure.
But what we're aiming for is the Rainbow Nation. That's why, like Nkosi Sikelele Africa, guys. Lord bless Africa. This is what we're talking about. People can learn from this situation, but there's a lot of potholes on the way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was just thinking now about we're pretty young compared to them. Ramaphosa's 65, Zuma's 75, I think. I know they're 10 years apart. It was like 62 and 52 were their birth years. And having these kind of, it happens all over the world, these old politicians, do you think that maybe has like a negative bearing on like the country as a whole, that there's like this older generation thing going on? Like I know these guys, like they went through the struggle, the fight and everything, and they're part of this party that is so like renowned for being like a huge part in turning over the oppressive government and everything. And but like younger blood, do you think that could I definitely think having some younger peeps involved would like just there'd be more of a connection with the majority of the population. The majority of the population aren't 65. The majority of the population are probably 30,
Younger. Take the average age of the average African. It's under 30, man. These are young people.
Mm-hmm.
They're connected to what's happening, and they want what other people want. So glad you mentioned this, because I can think of one guy who just fits this definition perfectly, and that's Julius Malema. Previous head of the ANC Youth League, disillusioned, decides to start his own party, and he's always been the voice against the status quo, the old motherfuckers that just grab all the wealth of South Africa. South Africa has the potential to be a very wealthy country. There's a lot of minerals there. There's a big tourist source of income there. There's a lot of agriculture. There's a lot of it could be the next Kenya with regards to fifth technological revolution and all that kind of stuff. So it's the gateway to Africa. Africa's the biggest market, I would say. This guy is upset because these old motherfuckers like Jay-Z and one could also say with Cyril, they've had their time. They need to hand it over to the young people. So that's his whole thing. And I totally understand that, because the young people are the ones suffering. The unemployment rate is 27%, and most of those people are under the age of 25. So if you're unemployed and you're under the age of 25, there's no wonder that you turn to crime. There's no wonder that you find yourself on the wrong path. So all the criticism on Julius Malema, go ahead. I agree with you too. But bear in mind, this guy, he's got a point. And the point is worth taking a look at and being considerate of, because, like you said, it's definitely a thing where the old people, and it's like I don't know. I think it's a worldwide phenomenon, because unemployment rates in Italy, Greece, Portugal, also most of them are under the age of 30, you know, so it's young people, and it's those motherfucking old people that you as a young person you see and you say, hey man, like give some of that stuff up, you know, but the old motherfuckers, they don't want to let go of that shit, you know, like, why would you? So you have a person like Jacob Zuma who fought his whole life to come in power. Why would he give it up? That's why he fought to the bitter end. Because he didn't want to give that power up. He fought all his life for it. And he might as well make his money while the going's good. Everything has its end, middle, and beginning. And Jacob Zuma's beginning is, end, basically, is politically has now begun. His private life or whatever else he does, you know, who nobody else cares. But Cyril Ramaphosa definitely has to keep into consideration that there are a lot of young people in South Africa that need perspectives, they need some kind of insurance, they need help. And he did mention yesterday there are certain programs that they're looking at, but like I said, like basically we said it several times on this podcast, wait and see. So let's my opinion is let's give Cyril the benefit of the doubt, you know, let's wait and see. Okay, so like it doesn't really help me if I say right now, fuck it, it's not going to work out, it's going to be doom and gloom, South Africa's the next Zim, you know, it's the next Zim, it's leave the country, if you can get out of the country, get out of the country. So I'd rather say, look here, give it some time. There seems to be some indicators that things could be rectifying, and that South Africa could, you know, fulfill its potential. I don't know if you feel the same way, Dane.
Yeah, definitely, I do feel that. Like I do get some doom and gloom from peeps. There's people that are like afraid of how things could turn out or something like that. But yeah. I was just thinking now about how some of the products of South Africa, like some of the things that we have to be like extremely proud of, like some of the people, like Trevor Noah, like that dude, The Daily Show in the States. Elon Musk, he's launching rockets to Mars. He's South African born. Dave Matthews of Dave Matthews Band, he's a South African, and he's like an international, I don't know whether it would be an icon or, I don't know, some kind of musical superstar. But there's, the first heart transplant that happened in South Africa. Like
first penis transplant happened in South Africa.
For reals?
For reals, man.
Wow, that's incredible. That's good to know. Yeah, penis transplant.
It's got a lot to offer. Yuma Sikela, Brenda Fassie.
Sure. Yeah, there's such positive things that come out of South Africa, and day to day there's like positive things happening here. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful country to be in. If you're not from here and you're listening to this, pop around. Like, we'll be glad to have you. Just keep your wits about you, you know, don't go to dodgy places, and you'll have a fucking amazing time. It's a beautiful country. There's beautiful people here, and like, despite what some people might think, like the majority of people here are warm and good. And yeah, there's bad apples that are spoiling the bunch, but yeah, it's a great place to live and a great place to visit. Thank you.
No, for sure. I mean, Cyril said it last night. Open quote, the most beautiful place in the world, end quote. I was like, if you wanted as a tourist, you know, I'm not plugging South Africa, because I think we're talking about something that's a lot bigger than fucking tourism. Like, we're not talking about South Africa as a tourist destination. We're talking about South Africa as a world phenomenon where people, where countries, big countries like America, France, Germany, world powers, Russia, that can look at the country and say, hey, look at these guys, look what they've done, you know, look what they've gone through, and they've achieved the Rainbow Nation. You know, this is still the dream that people have, and
Yeah.
It's kind of, for me personally, even though, like I said in the beginning, I haven't lived in SA for a while, but I have still very close emotional contact and bonds with South Africa. It's a thing that's deep down in I think every South African, hopefully every South African's blood, where they think to themselves, we're the Rainbow Nation, we're the, because people think of Nelson Mandela, they think of peace, they think of Ubuntu, which means that take away your differences, and
people.
We are, regardless of where you come from or what color you are, we are here on earth together. So this is a very acute situation, also with the what's happening in the world at the moment, like with regards to closing down the borders and the migration crisis here in Europe, and ISIS, and people blaming other people for this and that, and refugee camps, and it has the potential to change the world. So it's a project, it's ongoing.
I think South Africa can be seen as a quite a good example of this kind of change, and like it is taking a while, but this it's a big project, and it's going to be a bit of a lengthy process to try right wrongs and get over, overcome inequality and stuff like that. It's a huge task, and all we can do is all try and be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem, I guess. And there's been positive over the past 10 years as well. It hasn't all been negative. And I wouldn't say that Jay-Z is to blame for all the negative. I mean, there's a lot of different people involved in these things. People still stand together, and people still try and create a better space for everyone. And I feel positive about that. Personally, I think South Africa is on the up, and we've had speed bumps and stuff, but we moving forward and trying to create this Rainbow Nation that's already in some parts does exist. It's a beautiful thing.
For sure. I mean, this is the utopia that we kind of are wanting to see worldwide. Maybe it's a pipe dream, maybe, because you'll always have your differences, and you'll always have people that disagree with the way that other people do things. But if one could just take a look at South Africa and just say, hold on, let me just kind of look at it from a different perspective, I think we'd be able to, go further as a race, a human race. But I'm hoping that this podcast has somehow enlightened a few people with regards to how they approach certain situations. First of all, if you're going to say something about a certain category of person or demographic, if you could take anything away from this podcast, from my side, Dane, I'm sure you could also comment here. If from my side, I would just say, bear in mind the history, please take in consideration the history. I know that history is no excuse, like we've mentioned before, for certain things, but just bear it in mind, before you label people. So perhaps you have your opinion on it, Dane. I'm not sure how you think about that.
If you just look at an individual, if an individual's life experiences have been negative and somewhat they've been the oppressed, it definitely has a huge influence on how they are as people after that, and like the kind of grudges they hold, and all that kind of stuff. And like it's so, I mean, we can say that like history isn't an excuse for anything, but like they like experiences affect people, and you know, if you haven't experienced something, you can't assume that you know what it's about, because you actually know fuck all. You know, you
exactly. I mean, bear in mind. I mean, please take care. Take care when you're forming opinions. You know, because make sure that your house is in order before you criticize. You know, who are we to judge? Who are we to judge? If your house isn't in order, you know, why are you judging? Concentrate on your own affairs. You know, but anyway. We can have an opinion, and we're talking. This is an opinion-based show, you know. So keep it in mind that we'll say our two cents about everything, you know. But take care, you know.
Yeah. Just a quick one. So that's what we've talked about, Zuma and Ramaphosa and all that, and the resignation. Just something that was mentioned in this podcast, though. That I just wonder how you would feel if you got a penis transplant. Like, would you know, if everything was the same, it's just knowing that your penis belonged to someone else before, like, how would that make you feel?
Hold on, let me think about it for a second.
Okay.
So, I have donated my penis.
You have received a penis from a donor. Like, you know, you were chopping wood, there was an accident, you lost your penis.
And how I would feel about that?
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's great that you've got a working penis again. But like, when you look at it, and it was like, you know, maybe you got like a little profile booklet, you know, it used to belong to like Ronald Smith, and you've got like his photograph, and you know,
or black cock maybe.
Yeah, I mean, or darker, or even lighter, you know, like.
Okay, and then how would I feel about it, or what?
Yeah. I mean, well, I know you'd be ecstatic to have a working penis.
I'd be like, over the moon. It wouldn't matter what color it was or what shape it was. Even the size of it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Even if I had a chode.
Yeah. And yeah, I suppose that penis would have its own history before you as well, you know? And you couldn't really judge that penis's history because it's serving you now, and it's serving the purpose for you now as a functioning penis. So I guess it would be like maybe purely positive, and maybe just like if you know, got a little bit paranoid and stoned and overthought it or something, maybe you'd experience a few negative feelings there regarding that.
No, man, I'd like to keep as harmonious as possible, because you know the body might reject it.
Yeah.
So there's no ways that I'd be totally chilled. I'd maybe go to an ashram and like fucking meditate and do yoga for like a long time, and just make sure that the penis doesn't reject my body, because that would be terrible. The penis would literally want to fucking jump ship and get the fuck off my body, and then I'm left with a fucking stump.
Yeah.
After going through this whole process of getting a penis transfer. No. There's no two ways about it. It can only be positive. No, the penis will accept my body. I will accept the penis, no matter the size, no matter the color, no matter the shape, no matter if it's circumcised or not circumcised. As long as the penis fulfills its function, I will be ecstatic.
Yeah. Sure. Amazing. Anyway, on that note, we'd like to wrap up the show. I'd like to first of all say a big thank you to the 11 subscribers that we have on YouTube. Thank you very much. Yes.
We are making this show for you guys. So if you have any feedback about how we might fulfill your wishes, we are always open to that. So please comment, and if you like the show, share it to other people, because that's why we're doing this. We're doing it for fun. We have fun doing this. So if you guys are subscribing, I'm not doing this for other people. I'm doing this for the 11 subscribers on the YouTube. That's why I'm doing it. Hopefully I'm fulfilling your guys' wishes, and you guys could sit back on your commute to work and pop this podcast in and listen to us talk about these issues. And yeah, man, just share if you want, and if you don't, just keep on listening, because we're going to be doing this shit for a while.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks the Magnificent 11, and thank you, Jared. It was great chatting. I'm gonna go read up about some penis transplants, and yeah, that's
Dane.
that's
Thank
me.
you. I'd like to say thank you to you too, and I hope that we will never need penis transplants in our lives, and I'm happy with my penis. I'm sure you're happy with yours, and I wish you the best of luck in
Thank
your
you.
life with your penis.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye.